In this video, we're going to be looking at how we add and subtract mixed numbers. So previous videos, we've looked at how we can add and subtract fractions. And now we often get questions about what if it's mixed numbers, or how do we do that? So firstly, what I'm going to get you to write down is there's two methods that we can do this. So when you're adding and subtracting mixed numbers, there are two options you can do. The first one is that you need to convert the fractions to improper fractions. Okay, so by that I mean convert the mixed number into improper fraction, and then you do your addition or your subtraction. So this is probably the most common one to do, so you should often do this one, particularly with subtraction. So just turn the mixed number into an improper fraction, do the calculation, and then at the end make sure you simplify. So turn it back into a mixed number, or simplify your answer. Now method 2 is that you can add and subtract whole numbers first and then the fraction part. So you can separate it into a whole number equation and also a fraction part. So we're going to do a couple of examples of these now. I've got two addition and two subtraction questions that we'll explore, and you'll be able to see how that happens. So let's start here with our first one here. We'll do the addition part. So we have for A, we have 3 2/3 plus 4 2/3. So what I might do, because I have the same common denominator, I can simply just go through this process here. What I might do is I'll separate my whole numbers first. So what I have now is in brackets the 3 plus the 4. Okay, I can do that separately, and then on top of that I need to add my fractions separately. So I have 2/3 plus 2/3. Okay, so now all I have to do is simply add the two different parts together. So I have 7 whole, and then now I have the same denominator, so all I need to do is add these two numerators together, which will give me 4/3. Now again, at the end, always make sure that you simplify. So I have an improper fraction here, so I'm going to add that here to my whole number. So now I have 8 and 1/3. So that's how you can do sort of the method 2, where you add or subtract the whole numbers first, and then you separate it and then do your fractions part. So let's have a look now at how we convert fractions to improper fractions from there. Okay, so for question B, I've done this for you. So just to show you how we can convert the mixed numbers into improper fractions. So I have 2 5 6 plus 3 3/4. Now what I've done first is just converted them to the improper fractions. So I'll change these two to their new improper fraction. Now I know that my denominators aren't the same, so then I've had to obviously make sure they have a common denominator, which now gives me the sum of 34/12 plus 45/12, and simply we can just go through and do our addition from there. So now the answer is 79/12, and then convert that back into a mixed number, which will give you 6 and 7/12. So the two options you can see there for addition. Now we're going to look at how we do that for subtraction. So it's important that you listen to this, because we can often get tricked up, particularly with our subtraction. So for our subtraction part, I'm going to get you to write these key notes down here first, because it's very important, but we can often get lost when we have different mixed numbers. So firstly, when subtracting mixed numbers, you must have a fraction part that is large enough to allow the other proper fraction to be subtracted from it. If this is not the case at the start of the problem, you may choose to borrow a whole. So for example, I have 7.5 minus 2 3/4. Now we know that half is not big enough to have 3/4 subtracted from it, because it's too big. So what they do is they borrow from the whole and they add it in here. Okay, so they borrow from the whole to make it bigger, so then you can subtract. Another fail-safe method for subtracting mixed numbers is to convert the improper fractions right from the start. So again, method 1 is very helpful, particularly with subtraction. So convert it to improper fractions. Now let's look at what these examples look like. We'll start here with question A. So in this question we have 5 2/3 minus 3/4. Now I've done the simple method, particularly with subtraction. I've just simply converted them to improper fractions. So I now have 17/3 minus 13/4. Now my denominators are not the same, so I need to make sure I convert. Now the lowest common denominator here is 12, so that will create 16/12 and 39/12. I can simply now do the subtraction, because the number on my left is bigger than the number on the right. So I simply can subtract from that, which gives me 29/12, and then convert that to the mixed number of 2 and 5/12. So the next one, we'll look at how we can borrow from a whole, so make sure you follow for this one. Alright, so this one is a little bit more complicated. So I have 8 1/5 minus 4 3/4. So I've separated them so you can see here. So I'm going to do where I separate the whole number and the fraction part. So what I have is 8 and 1/5 1/5 minus 4 3/4. Now I know I can't take 3/4, okay, from 1/5 because it's too big. So what I'm going to do is borrow from the whole number. So now my new part is, I now have 7, so I've taken 1 whole, so I've gone down to 7, and I added that into my improper fraction. Now I know I can take 3/4 away from 6/5, so we can just simply go ahead there and do our mixed parts. I'm going to do the whole numbers first and then our fractions. So I've separated them here, so I have 7 minus 4 plus 6/5 minus 3/4. So my whole answer will be 3, and then I've simply just converted, because I've got uncommon denominators here, so I've found the LCD and made our fractions simpler. So 24 minus 15 will give us the total of 3 whole and 9/20. So that's how you do addition and subtraction with mixed numbers. So make sure you know the two methods, and always remember to simplify at the end. Thanks, guys.